Both Carl and Greg are members of the Hunter Harness Society and have built and maintained carriages before. They were asked so often to provide horse-drawn coaches for weddings that they decided this was the chance for a little commercial enterprise. But then, Carl's daughter, Noni, announced she was to be married. The rush was really on to get the Fairytale coaches finished on time. It was only at 1 o'clock this morning, after 380 man-hours each, that they were both satisfied everything was in readiness. Carl and Greg built everything themselves, except for the lamps, steps and springs. Even the wheels were fashioned from steel on a specially prepared jig. The only concession to modernity is built-in drum brakes on the rear to whoa back on the downhill trots. Everything's now in readiness for tomorrow's debut, including a rehearsal this morning, timing the run to St Peter's Church at 22 minutes.
We do build restore sulkies, and we've had requests to do weddings at different times with another carriage that I have, so with my daughter being married we thought it was a good idea to have a go at building a couple of carriages.
And your daughter has given you the hurry along, I imagine.
That's right, very much so. We found that we were running short of time. 3 weeks ago it looked hopeless, but now we've caught up pretty well.
Western Basin Wharf, where truckloads of oil-rich rapeseed were brought in for loading, destined for Japan, where it will be milled to extract a high-protein cooking oil. The rapeseed came from across the state, and is the first consignment of any oilseed to be exported from Australia's east coast by the Oilseeds Marketing Board of New South Wales since 1979. According to the board, the negotiation of this new market with Japan, which previously was supplied by Canada, will open up new possibilities for the state's farmers, and more importantly, all those to claim it will mean an improvement in the future for the dockyards of Newcastle. 13,000 tonnes were consigned this morning, with roughly 1,100 truckloads, an important addition to our exporting facilities that hopefully will grow much larger. Plenty of activity here on the Newcastle Wolves this morning. For the first time ever, Australian rapeseed is being loaded in preparation for export to Japan. All things going well, it could be a familiar sight for Newcastle and for the state's oilseeds producers.
Join Ray Janine and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Number 4 Western Basin Wharf was a hive of activity as the trucks rolled in with their precious cargo of rapeseed. The 13,000-tonne shipment was brought in at 12 tonnes per truckload. More than 1,000 truckloads were needed to fill the tanker with avid success. Rape itself is a very small seed, but a very rich one, yielding around 42% protein. When this consignment gets to Japan, it'll be crushed and the oil's extracted. Now, usually the byproduct is used as a meal, but this time round the byproduct will become a domestic fertiliser. The rapeseed was drawn from throughout the state. The main growing areas being south of Double and north of Beenleigh, although increasingly it's also being grown in the Fairytale area. The fish shipment proved as successful as expected, it could hold much more work on the wharves. Months of negotiations proceeded it, with the Oilseeds Marketing Board of New South Wales having to work hard to lure the Japanese away from their regular supplier, Canada.
We've been trying since October, November to encourage the Japanese to buy from us. We're aware now that we're up to export surpluses in the state, and we very much want to get into the Japanese market, and we're delighted that we've negotiated this initial shipment, an historic one, and we hope it's the start of many.
Would you see Newcastle playing a major role in future exports?
Well, absolutely, because the crop where it's growing stems to Newcastle. Later on we can see Port Kembla coming in, but particularly Newcastle very much in the next 3 or 4 years playing a very vital role for us to get it to Japan.
The consignment was the first of any type exported from the East Coast by the Oilseeds Marketing Board since November 1979. And now, with rapeseed production exceeding domestic demand and prices strong and steady, this tiny little grain with the funny name could be the one to bring relief to the state's struggling wheat growers. A small rally in Civic Park, Newcastle this morning involving ancillary staff employed in the city's schools. They met to discuss an issue that's put them at loggerheads with the Department of Education, namely the permanency of their employment.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
I'm Janelle Provost. The Newcastle City Administrator, Mr Colin Saunders, says it'll be at least June before the people of Newcastle can elect their new council. He says that's because the Greater Newcastle Act has to be changed and that has to go through Parliament, and also because it'll take that long to implement the improvements in the Newcastle City Administration.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Probably going to be a fairly expensive one. What are the chances of something being done?
Parliament in March 1983.
Well, as has already been
the first
said,
meeting of the group under his chairmanship
will be
take
our role,
place
first
in
of
the
all,
morning
to try
before the committee leaves on an inspection tour of the Pacific Highway in the Taree region. 17 deaths occurred on the stretch of highway from Bulladila to Johns River over the Christmas-New Year holiday period. The committee will join police and local government officials in the inspection tomorrow afternoon and on Friday morning. Mr Price will release details of the impressions gained on the tour at a press conference in Taree on Friday afternoon.
Under the watchful eye of ex-St George player and Australian representative coach Johnny King, this year's team has its hopes set on the Herald Cup. Hard training sessions over the past weeks and warm-up games with North Sydney and eastern suburbs are planned for the coming weeks. They'll be used as a lead-up to the big match against 1985 Sydney Premiers Canterbury Bankstown at the International Sports Centre on February the 22nd. A strong forward side, including Milton Burrows and Mark Brackenshaw, as well as the experience of players such as Ripper Taylor and Paul Merlot, will no doubt give the Newcastle side its strongest chance yet at the Cup.
Well, I find that this year, playing North, it'll be a great opportunity to really judge the Newcastle side. It'll give us something to compare our forwards with their forwards and their back strength, and I think our players have got the ability. It's only a matter of can I bring it out of them now in the next couple of weeks, so when we do play North, we'll be as equal to the task as what they are.
Will the team take out the Cup?
Well, we will. We'll be there knocking on the door. They'll know they're playing us.
Training squadron were involved in air combat exercises 20 kilometres northeast of the Williamtown RAAF base when the wings of two of the aircraft touched. The damage to both jets was limited, and surprisingly there was no further structural damage on the flight back to the base. The emergency services were activated, but they weren't required. The pilots, Flight Lieutenant John Clark, 35, and 30-year-old Robert Adler were shaken but unhurt in the incident. The right wings of both jets were damaged. One lost its missile and part of its back flap was broken off. The other will have to have part of its wing replaced after the outboard leading edge flap was shorn through. Officer Commanding at Williamtown, Air Commodore Dick Bomble, says the FAA team has well and truly proven itself in the field.
Well, one of the very positive things to come out of the unfortunate incident, in fact, is that despite the damage, it remained very closely contained. Both aircraft were able to fly back and land normally, and we still have 2 pilots and 2 aircraft.
Just how this collision happened still isn't known. An investigation is being held, the results of which probably won't be known until next week. Work on the multi-million-dollar administration complex at Wallsend was due to start last November, but it hasn't got off the ground because of a demarcation dispute between the BWIU and the BLF. The issue is over who has the right to remove asbestos cement sheeting from the existing buildings so that they can be demolished to make way for the new. During the 3-month delay, the SCC project manager, Sabima, has been working to solve the problem without success. Today, the council decided to suspend Sabimo until the dispute can be resolved.
Well, our options are completely open. We've now got to try and look at the problems ourselves and see if we can find a resolution to enable us to get the building up and going again, get it completed, supply the work for the people here, and just simply get on and get the job done.
Councillor Jobling says it will be at least 2 months before the matter will be heard by the ACTU arbitrator, and then it may take even longer before work can begin again on the new administration centre.
Mr Jennings is just back home from an around-the-world trip studying the latest in detection and prevention of corporate espionage. Today in Newcastle, he was able to demonstrate scanners which can detect the transmissions from tiny radios and electronic devices which can indicate the presence of illicit circuits placed across telephone lines. It may sound like the stuff Get Smart episodes are made of, but Richard Jennings says it's more real than most people realise.
I can't convince them that it's happening. I'm simply saying that if they believe they're oblivious to it, then they are kidding themselves. I mean, it just does not happen only in the movies or anywhere else. And it's certainly not just in Sydney and Melbourne. Newcastle, any other town of equivalent size where people are in competitive business place, it will happen. It is a ready ease and a cheap means of getting information.
What types of schemes do people get up to get information, and what can you do about it for your clients?
Well, the schemes, I mean, everybody's got information that they would prefer people out there not to know about, or they wouldn't have locks on filing cabinets. And that information is readily available. People talk about it down the telephone, thinking telephone lines are secure. Unless you happen to be a Russian spy or a drug dealer, then nobody's going to bother. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that do bother. They are listening, and that information you're talking about can be life or death to you and your company.
Local interest in savings and financial security is still very strong. Turning up the Newcastle Wolves Run Show. The 2-day expo features more than 45 executives giving their ideas and offering packages. They say that it doesn't allow anyone's chance to make profits in their money. The money show is organised by the National and as Ross Greenwood explains, the show should appeal to most people
Russ, what's the show basically about?
What it's about is giving people an opportunity to come in on a pressure-free basis and find out about their own money. That's something, of course, most people are interested in now, how to make a little bit more money, or perhaps how to save some money as well.
So what sort of things can people expect?
People can expect to see a lot of different stands, from the banks to the building societies to the stockbrokers even. They can come along, they can ask these people their advice. They've got no obligation to go and buy anything from these people, and so they can actually get some good advice, some sound advice, and actually try and make a few dollars in the future as well.
It's the first time that Personal Investment has organised a money show outside a capital city, and it can be seen as an expression of confidence in Newcastle as a financial growth area. The organisers have called it an obligation-free supermarket of investment and advice, and the doors will be open again tomorrow from 10 o'clock in the morning.
"17 juveniles from the Newcastle and Taree areas were arrested over the weekend and charged with offences relating to underage drinking. They are due to appear in Children's Court today. The arrests were made by police from Sydney in special raids on Friday and Saturday nights. Those conducting the premises will also appear in court in accordance with the Act.
I'm Janelle Provost. The State Pollution Control Commission says it will get tough with BHP unless it controls pollution like this at its basic oxygen steelmaking division. BHP says it is working on the problem and maintenance work should be completed next week.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Mine owners were saying nothing when requests were made for comment, but the unions, through Northern Secretary Harold Sessions, left no doubt about their position.
Well, we consider the owners haven't been realistic in their negotiations and have offered very little, and certainly nothing that would pacify nor the unions would accept.
The unions say there's been a 30% increase in productivity in mines in recent times, and that while it's not due entirely to them, they should reap their share of the benefit. Again, the 8 weeks of negotiation brought no joy to the workers.
Their response was that we weren't entitled to anything at all because any increase in productivity had been all they're doing. Capital, technology and money put into the industry. We do not accept that the mine workers played an important part in that increase.
Have the proprietors not given you anything?
Very little. I could be humorous and say if you're a female and wore glasses and wanted paternal leave after 12 months service you could get something, but very little apart from that.
Now there's to be a 1 week stoppage and then meetings following that, so
That's
what are we to expect in the weeks to come?
Well, I think it will depend largely on whether there is a realistic approach to negotiations. If there's not, then I have the view that industrial activity will continue.
I'm Janelle Provost. Today the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce celebrated its centenary year by presenting a gift to the City of Newcastle. The gift is Enterprise Park on the corner of Watt and Scott Streets.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
What we've done,
according to the Mayor, Alderman Jeff Pasterfield, the Council took the drastic action for 2 reasons. It has the opportunity to lease the community centre out to another organisation on a long-term basis. Alderman Pasterfield said negotiations are still in progress, so he can't disclose who the potential leasee is. The other reason is that the centre is economically unviable.
then it's how far can you travel in accumulating deficits on everything that you do. So it means that you have to look at endeavouring to make those things viable, that it's possible to make viable.
The Council has provided the various community groups with a list of alternative accommodation, but spokesman for the former Community Centre Committee, Pam Tesh, says that the Council's decision could mean the demise of many of the groups.
Well, I think that a lot of them will disband. All right, some of them will find alternative premises to go to, but it's very difficult to find something that is as centrally situated as it is where it is at Spears Point. Because, I mean, so after all, that is the linking between the East Lakes and the West Lakes, and this is no doubt why council built there in the first place.
The $24,000 deficiency in the committee's books is being investigated by the council, and until that's settled, the mayor says he won't be calling a public meeting to elect a new committee.